Okay, so EA or Electronics Arts has now been taken over and bought for a $55 billion buyout deal, which is, I think, the largest in history, specifically for gaming, but I think it's also one of the largest ever. And this one is a big deal because now Electronics Arts will be owned by a consortium, first of which is Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, or PIF, and then two other companies, a private equity firm Silver Lake and Affinity Partners, which is actually run by Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. So there's definitely a lot going on here. And the thing is, this is something that I think a lot of people who follow gaming knew at some point it was going to happen, but they weren't sure in what way. And I don't think anybody expected to be $55 billion. We knew it was going to be a lot because Electronics Arts before this deal was already worth around 43 billion. And since then, since this announcement, now they've shot up to around 50 billion. And obviously the value of this entire deal is 55 billion. So this is a huge thing. And it's also going to have a massive, massive shakeup in the entire gaming industry because Electronic Arts is absolutely massive. And here's the official press release from Electronics Arts. So they're saying that, as I mentioned earlier, Saudi Arabia before actually had a 10% stake in the company. But now that's going to be split up, and I'm pretty sure Saudi is going to be the main shareholder, followed by Silver Lake and then Affinity Partners. And this is also going to mean that EA is also going to go into debt. I don't understand how these things work, but basically there's going to be an equity investment of approximately 36 billion and then 20 billion of debt financing. So that means Electronics Arts is going to be 20 billion in debt once this thing goes through, and it will become a private company, so they will no longer be a publicly traded company, which has pros and cons. And the actual CEO of Electronics Arts is still going to be the same. So at least at this point, not much is going to change, but as everybody knows, with any of these type of deals, there's always going to be changes. And in this case, the changes are going to be pretty massive because, well, just as Electronics Arts has done with many other companies that they bought, there was no change at the beginning, but in the end, there were tons of changes, with most companies either getting laid off or completely shut down. And BioWare, the makers of Mass Effect and Dragon Age, they're bracing for it because more than likely a whole bunch of them are going to be laid off. And this isn't the only companies that's experienced this whenever they were bought out by Electronic Arts. Codemasters experienced something similar to this. Most of the times whenever these things happen, it's almost never a good thing for a lot of these companies that they're owned by. And with Electronic Arts, they haven't really had a lot of hits over the years. You know, the Dragon Age Veilguard from BioWare did really bad in terms of sales, and it didn't do the numbers that it should have. And with a lot of modern games, it was mired in a lot of controversy, mainly DEI, politics, stuff like that. And that's kind of like the norm for most games nowadays. But now that it's going to be acquired by a Saudi Arabian, mostly Saudi Arabian investment company. This is the country of Saudi Arabia. Here's the PIF. They have like $925 billion of assets under management. Things are definitely going to change. You know, however you feel about Electronic Arts or any of the drama or politics behind it, things are going to change in a huge way because now they have new owners. And this isn't the only multinational company that has its hands in so many other companies that you would think are either from the US or from Europe, because big companies like Tencent, you know, they own a lot of companies that you might know of, you know, like Riot Games. They produce League of Legends, so PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty Mobile, and many other. I mean, These are more international conglomerates than anything else. And at the end of the day, you know, it is all about the money. Okay, $55 billion is absolutely insane. And with that, you know, they're going to have to, or they're going to want to get a return on investment for the long term. And I know a lot of gamers have not been happy with the way that Electronic Arts has been going for years. They've mostly turned into a company that's all about monetization, and I don't think much in the way of innovation. They're just pumping out the same games or updates of the games. Like you could think of stuff like Madden, or their biggest property here is FIFA. That's actually their largest property worldwide in terms of their sports games, and many other games like Battlefield 6. You know, so they do have a lot of very valuable properties, Sims, and so forth. But at the end of the day, Electronic Arts, they have just not been as profitable as they would like over the years, and hence this is why this deal is happening. So if you actually had any thoughts on this deal, be sure to leave in the comments area below, and I'll see you on another episode.